What the fuck? Beanies in Summer, episode 3. This is what we do. It's Beanies in Summer. Beanies in Summer is a perplexing situation that we've come up with that kind of encompasses everything that really perplexes us all over the place. Let me read the disclaimer, as Francis likes to say it. By the way, I'm Rich. That's Francis. There's Polo over there.
Hello. Is it a disclaimer or is it just a mission statement? That's all it is.
A little bit of both.
All right.
Who are we? We're everyday guys with above average intelligence who are perplexed by a chaotic, disorganized society that acts like one giant teenager with ADD and severe memory, social skills, executive functioning, logic, reasoning, and problem-solving disabilities. We believe that well-known celebrities with podcasts and talk show hosts are not the only place to find people like us to find... I'm sorry, I fucked it all up.
Hey, you need a reader?
Yeah, I do need a reader.
Just continue where you left
off. I need
off.
Alexis to read this for me or something, whatever it is. Let me try that again. We believe that well-known celebrities with podcasts and talk show hosts are not the only place for us. God damn it.
Man, you are choking on it. It truly was a bukkake of ideas.
I know.
Huh? Choking on.
We believe that well-known celebrities with podcasts
Take a breath.
and talk show hosts are not the only place for people like us to find competent conversation or like-minded folks who present a good tension and frustration release by simply hearing their viewpoints. We're the friends you talk to in the car, at the gym, on the job, on a fishing trip, even though I don't fish, or wherever else you find yourself with one of those friends you can simply be you with and hold none of your opinions, viewpoints, gripes, or complaints back. When those people are unavailable, we are here. We're a brainstorming think tank discussing, dissecting, and commenting on everyday experiences we all share, as well as other newsworthy cultural phenomenon.
Love it.
I didn't say that very well. I hope I do it better next time. Or maybe one of you guys can try it next time. I know, me too. We need more sound effects. I like that.
Yeah, sound effects are cool.
Yeah. I want to do it one of these days. Yeah, that's basically what I did trying to get through that thing. You got a train wreck sound in there?
No.
Anywhere? No? So that's me jumping off the
What's
bed.
that, a bukkake sound? What was that? That's one big cum drop.
It's a big one.
Sure.
Cum drop soup?
Cum drops.
That's kind of fun.
Yeah, it is. You want some more of that, baby?
Is that the Chargers kicker?
What's
Cum
his
drop
name?
soup?
Cum drop soup.
What's his name again?
I don't know.
Young Ho.
Young Ho, that's
Young
right.
Ho Koo or
Young
something.
Ho Koo. Yeah. Yeah, and then I said, what if his last name was like Chi?
Young Ho Chi.
No, Young Ho
Yeah,
Koo
Young
Chi.
Yeah, boy. Flavor Flav.
We're obviously not professionals, but that's what makes it so much fun. All right. We, as always, have a bunch of different categories that we're going to talk about on the board over here, on the playing board. And we've gone through several of them that we originally put up there, but we have a couple more new ones up there. So we're going to toss this one over to Polo over here.
Me.
Yeah. We said last episode that you were going to be the podcast quarterback for this one.
All right.
So we're tossing it over to you, and you get to go with this.
Yeah.
What's the category?
Well, this came
Hurry up!
In a off-recording conversation,
Mhm.
but I think it's worthy to bring it up. Keeping up with the Joneses, but kind of with a twist to it. If you were a CEO or a boss of a company, and let's say a law firm, for example, and you have a bunch of employees, right? Or I don't know, what would you refer?
Are you talking about a large company or
a large
just like
one?
any
sure.
average company?
Yeah. Let's switch it up. Let's pick another company.
Whenever you picked a company.
Yeah. Let's say, let's see, Apple, for example.
Okay.
Okay, you're the CEO.
CEO of Apple.
Yes,
Tim
CEO
Cook.
of Apple. Yes.
Once Steve Jobs, now it's Tim Cook.
Yes. Obviously, you think that you have the ability to hire intelligent people, very capable people, but you notice a trend where many of them are they kind of
boy.
yeah they're
You have any farting noises? We gotta get Chris over here. Anyway, go ahead.
they're trying to compete with each other with material possessions, cars, houses, even just all kinds of things like that.
Do you
Trophy
think-
wives.
Do you think?
Sure.
Do you think? Yeah. Do you
Yeah.
think people like Tim Cook, do that?
I don't know. I don't know if he tries to keep up with the Joneses.
Do you mean like do billionaires try to keep up with billionaires? I'm sure they do.
I think so
sure
in
they
some
do.
way. Yeah.
Yeah.
If they don't do that, at least they communicate with each other and get ideas from each other, and bounce. I'd like to think that's what they do. That's probably why they're so successful.
Well, there's only what's the number? Like just over 1,000 billionaires on Earth.
Is that the number?
I think there's like 1,100, something like that,
Yeah,
on Earth.
1,100.
Billionaires.
What's the population count? 7 billion.
Yeah.
So 1,100 out of 7 billion. It's
Yeah.
very rare.
Sure.
Yeah. So like, that's. I mean, who else are you going to keep up with?
Yeah,
They're just
that's-
people like everybody else, right?
yeah, with each
So
other. Then.
They probably do somehow. They all know each other, I'm sure.
Yeah, maybe they get together for bukkakis.
Yeah, maybe they do. Well, I would.
Love it.
Yeah, me too. I'd love it more.
Yeah.
But,
Well,
but
back
did-
to the topic at
Wait,
hand.
wait. One real quick side note. Did you know that the like top 20 richest people, like billionaires from like even 10, 20 years ago, none of the people are on there now? Those people don't stay the same. The richest people in the world don't stay the richest, like in the top 20. They still say rich, but they're not always top 20.
Wait, from how long ago?
10, maybe 20. Even year to year, it changes. People could drop in and out all the time.
You think that has to do with what we often talk about, which is a lot of elite or rich people are singularly focused on a specific, talent or product or whatever it is, and then they're not too diverse. So then, times change, and then now there's, there are more modern things that people are interested in or buy or purchase or.
Perhaps that,
Yeah.
but I think the people who are wealthy, 10, 20 years ago are still wealthy. They're just not in the top 20.
Not in the top 20.
But
yeah.
I think a part of that is, like I said in the last podcast, like wealth is not just cash. If they just had that much in cash, that's not going to change. But wealth, I mean, like the housing, your house could be worth, $500,000 today. But if there's some sort of a crash or something like that, your house goes down to whatever value, $200,000, right? That's just the wealth. So wealthy people have their wealth in stuff like real estate, in stuff like stocks, all these other things that can fluctuate. So they fluctuate up, fluctuate down. It just depends on the year.
Yeah.
What's going on that year. Is real estate hot that year? Then a lot of real estate moguls will be the wealthiest. Is something else hot that year? Then somebody else is going to be, you know what I mean? So it all fluctuates, but they're all wealthy one way or another.
Yeah.
Like even if they go down, they're still billionaires,
You made me digress, man.
Sorry.
Dang it.
I just wanted to make a quick point, and then all of a sudden
That wasn't
got off-
quick.
It was quicker than our normal conversations. Anyway, go
That's
back to
You think it's kind of dumb?
yeah, just kind of dumb.
Keeping up with the Joneses. All right, as a CEO, as a boss, if you notice that among your employees and now you're looking to promote someone, wouldn't you go, let me check out my employees and, see who's not trending towards that way? Wouldn't you want the guy who takes the bus or bikes to work? Because that would indicate a certain, they don't care about what anyone else is doing. They're solely concentrating on,
Fiscal responsibility.
yeah, not even fiscal responsibility, but they just don't give a shit about the other stuff. They just care more about what they're doing, about the job, and not focused on what anyone else is doing.
I mean, I think that might get them an interview, but I wouldn't necessarily just say that would be the thing that would propel them into that position. I would have to see whether or not they were doing it just because, if they were doing it just because, well, I'm so I'm so environmentally conscious that I'm going to take a bike 5 minutes to work. You know, if it's all this other bullshit,
Yeah.
then I'd be like, you know. But if it was somebody who was just like, they didn't give a shit about owning a car just because they didn't give a shit about owning a car. If it was just like they were bare bones, they wore like a t-shirt and like ripped jeans to work every day, but not to be hip or ironic or anything like that. If it was just because they were singularly focused on doing better jobs, then fuck yeah.
What if they're just broke?
So what? Doesn't mean they're not the right person for the job.
Yeah, but I'm saying there's different reasons why people will do different things.
Right.
That's true. But I like your point that would certainly earn an interview.
Yeah.
At least, yeah.
I'd be like, what's going on with
just
that
to
guy?
find out what's going on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just.
But then I'd wonder myself, like, well, if he's broke, I better start paying my employees a little bit more. If he's broke and riding his bike to my to Apple.
Well, I mean, something's wrong because, you know, let's say we talked about keeping up with the Joneses. Everyone else is driving fancy cars, and he's kind of in the same position as they are, but he's broke. What's then that's kind of more of an insight. Like, okay, then this guy isn't the guy
Right.
that I want to promote.
But I don't get, what is it in when you just, I mean, keeping up with the Joneses is what basically makes our freaking country roll, you know? But why? Like,
But it's also what can make our country, you know, have a market crash.
well, yeah.
You know, it's the
Well,
same.
yeah.
There's two sides.
But what the hell is it in somebody's head that they have to feel the need to do what everybody else is doing? Like, is it a group mentality? Is it
Or is it competition based?
well, I think it is competition based, but is it also a group like me too, don't leave me out? Is that what they're thinking?
The need
Like-
to belong.
Yeah, is it a group think? Like,
I'm
I seriously
sure that
don't
is.
know what it,
Yeah.
because I don't have that. I don't have any of that. I got to keep up kind of thing at all. I mean, you just look at my car. You know, I don't get new stuff. You come into my house, I have nothing in it. Basically, I'm pretty minimalistic.
Is it also a lack of purpose in life? So then, you know, obtaining possessions is kind of like one of the easier things.
fills
Yeah.
some sort of a gap or something?
Yeah, like a gap, a hole, a need. You know, they don't have a true purpose or, you know, some sort of more weightier purpose. So that's like they just resort to that. It's kind of easy to resort to. You know, well, my goal is to get this house, buy this car, you know, get this boat, but then not really having a true purpose.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think that's part of it too.
Right. I mean, I can understand getting a car, getting a boat, like collectors. That's like, but that comes down to like having a hobby though. Like if you're a car collector, that's different. That's cool. That's not really keeping up. That's
No,
like
I'm
doing
not
your thing.
talking
Yeah.
about collecting. Like, I'm just
Right,
saying,
not just getting stuff, just
stuff,
acquiring
just getting
shit.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think that's probably exactly what that is. When you're just acquiring a bunch of shit, you don't have any purpose. I mean, you show me somebody with a whole bunch of shit that doesn't make any sense, it's just a bunch of shit, and I'll show you somebody who has no hobby. You know, as far as I'm concerned, they probably have no hobby whatsoever.
But what if
How
that
could
is
they?
their hobby? Just getting a bunch of shit.
That's
I don't know.
not much
I don't know.
of a hobby.
I'm sure people find it therapeutic to just buy things. You know, you hear about those people addicted to shopping, or especially women. You know, if they get in some emotional state, they go out and just buy something just to feel
Francis is sexist.
better.
Yeah, why does that have to be women?
Yeah. Are you talking about transgender women or just regular women?
I don't know.
You have to clarify this kind of shit these days, Francis.
Yeah, seriously.
We're
man.
we're going to be on the cutting edge here. We got to be like forward thinking, you know. Anyway, go on with your rant. With your rant against women, Francis.
I love women.
It's true.
Women
I
are
mean,
my,
speaking
women
of
are
which,
my favorite
if
people.
you wanted to be referred to as viewed as a woman, but you did nothing to change your physical appearance, or very little to change your physical appearance, do you have a right to be offended when people don't or view you as a woman? Like, what is that?
So wait, paint the situation
All right, so let's say
so that all of our 10,000 new listeners each day don't be left out. Tell all your friends so that they can see, so that they can see the situation. Is that what you're talking about?
All right, let's say you have a student per se, and this student is having a gender identity, what do they refer to, crisis?
Wait. So in this situation, so you're a teacher.
You're a teacher.
You're a teacher. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this is the situation you're teaching as a. I mean, you're using as an example. Or you
Yes.
just-
Yeah.
but
as
it
an
could be-
example. Yeah. Let's
it
say
could be
Let's say
anything.
there's a student in a classroom, and they're having a gender identity crisis, and they want to be viewed as a girl, but they do very little to change their appearance. And then, someone, let's say some people accidentally refer to that person as a male or whatever it is.
Well, can we go back and what is this person?
Oh, male.
Okay.
by
Yes.
birth.
By birth.
Mhm.
Yes.
By birth is male, has not done anything to change.
Well, very
Yes.
minimal. Maybe dye their hair. Or yeah,
That doesn't count.
That
Short
does-
hair, long hair.
long hair. It's long.
So long dyed hair.
Yes, long dyed hair.
That's the criteria. That's it.
That's it.
That's the only criteria they've given you to prove that they're changed
Yes.
in gender.
Yes.
Sorry.
That's it.
I don't know. I can't buy that. Sorry. It's
Well, I know that there's. I've seen these things where they give these, there's 4 different areas of where gender comes from. Apparently, is what they're saying.
4?
I think so. I think it was like 4. Yeah.
They're just
you're gonna need
It's
to,
like
you're gonna
what
need to
you-
educate me.
what
here.
male, female. That's it.
No. Not 4 different genders. It's 4 different. I can't remember
It's not
exactly
that
what
simple,
it was.
Polo.
Why?
It's
Why?
not that
Why
simple.
isn't
What-
it that simple?
What's
It's
it right?
ridiculous. Yeah.
Well, because there's these things like how you feel, how you look, what you're born with.
No, biologically, it's not that simple. Sometimes for some.
there's
Oh,
there's
okay.
there's
Yeah, there's
there's
sometimes it's
something
true.
about 4 different ways to determine gender, and so there's like what they're born with, obviously, then what they feel inside, then it's like what they're attracted to, and then something else, and I can't remember what it was. But anyway, there's all these different things, supposedly, right? So the appearance, I guess, may be not very much changed, but apparently sounds like this person is going by what they feel inside.
Can I ask how old this person would be in this example?
Let's say 15.
All right, so already past puberty.
Or
Or in the midst of
in
it.
the midst of it.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not. I mean, disclaimer here. It's not any sort of like judgment on whether that.
Right, you're just
person-
trying to find an answer.
Yeah. Yeah. No. My point is, do they have a right to feel offended if somebody accidentally refers to them as their birth sex because they haven't done anything to change their appearance to indicate otherwise or act in any different manner, but they've made it known to everyone else that they want to be viewed as a female, but they're not. But then,
No.
Yeah.
No,
I say no.
Yeah.
I say no.
I say no, and I'm fed up with all the offended shit anyway. But I say no because, look, you can't expect everybody to be some sort of an expert and play pretend or whatever it is just because you internally, because this isn't even external, it sounds like, internally think you're something. If you internally inside think you're one thing, but you're showing something different, you have got to be prepared for people to make mistakes of what you prefer to be
But in this case, it's,
seen or called.
in this case, it's not technically a mistake because if this person is a boy, and people see a boy and calling him a boy, regardless of what he's feeling inside, that's conflicting with that. That's not something I think you should be offended by.
Right.
True.
Or
Yeah, but
anybody
is it-
should be, because it wouldn't be just a student. This is pervasive in our, all over the place all of a sudden, this type of situation.
Yeah, and I see many problems with this. One of them being that, let's go back to that student, you're just causing more problems for that student, basically, because now,
Wait. Who's causing problems?
well, let's say others who are making these, let's call them mistakes, but they're not really mistakes because, like you said, the appearance is still of a boy.
The mistake of referring to them as a male rather
Yes.
than, or as he rather than she,
Not a mistake,
because
but
that
yeah.
person wants to be known as she.
Like, I would hope that someone is telling this student that, hey, people are going to refer to you or view you as a boy if your appearance is not going to change.
You say you're
further.
hoping, but if in this example, I assume you brought this up because a teacher-student relationship, the teacher has an authoritative role here.
Yes.
So couldn't the teacher have that conversation with the student if the student is acting offended?
And see, nowadays that's touchy. I think because
Is
I
that
think
not?
I think a lot of the power has been given to parents and the students themselves. So a lot of things can be misconstrued, in that conversation that could come back and bite the teacher in the ass.
So,
basically,
because I'm not familiar with the protocols, but then the way you're responding here, so then I assume the proper response would be to have a conversation with the parent and to make them aware of the issues that you're experiencing with this student about being offended.
I
right?
think, like he said, there's a lot of power given to the parents now, also in the student, and so perhaps this has already been discussed with them, and it's been decided that if somebody refers to you as something you don't want to be referred to, let us know so that we can.
Is this for real? I mean, if I feel like a duck,
Could be.
I feel like I don't know. I feel like a lion inside.
Mm-hmm.
You need to treat me like a lion.
yeah, that's
Well,
my
that's
point.
the slope that
yeah,
we're kind of
yeah.
on right now, and
I'm only asking the question. I'm
Yeah.
not trying to, judge, but it just.
well,
it
here's
just sounds-
that's the problem. I don't think there's anything wrong with being polite to people and referring to them how they want to be referred to when they're in your presence.
Yeah, plus I don't give a shit. If you want to be a chair and that's how I want to view, that's how you want me to view you as, fine, I don't give a shit.
Right.
Whatever. I'll
Who
view you
gives
as
a
a
fuck?
chair. I don't give a shit. Yeah.
Right. But, and I've been to a so-called training seminar for this kind of shit where this is where I got
Boy.
this,
HR training.
yeah.
Okay.
It wasn't really an HR training. It was actually like a guest speaker, I guess. Set up, obviously.
HR.
Right, exactly. But it wasn't HR themselves. It was an actual person who
Yeah.
was, giving this
Yeah.
talk. And that's where I got this 4 different ways of. That's where I remember it from.
Yeah.
From this training.
What?
From this training.
Yeah.
Wow. All right.
4 different ways of
Identifying.
identifying gender.
Gender.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
I forgot my train of thought. I do. I forgot what I was going to say. I had a point that was coming, and then now it's gone because you interrupted
You
me.
got to stay on top of it, man.
What was I saying?
Can't be this.
But what was my last thing I was talking
I
about?
don't know, Polo. I wasn't even
training.
listening.
I know the training, but what was I saying about the training? What were we talking right before that?
The
Being accepting of what people call or wanting to be
Yeah.
called something specific.
Oh yeah, I think I was talking about in the presence of somebody.
Yeah.
Like when you're in the presence of somebody, referring to them as however they want to be referred to. That's fine. I mean, we're polite people. You can, if you want to be in a polite society, fine. What's the problem? If you want to be called, Julia, fine. If you want to be called, chair, fine. Whatever. Why? I mean, the point that this person actually made was when somebody, let's say, walks away
Mm-hmm.
from, let's say Polo wants to be called Julia, and he wants to be referred to as she is Julia. Let's say, right? That's the new pronoun.
I can see that.
yeah,
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Looks like a good Julia.
I like cross dressing once
Yeah,
in a while.
right? And then he walks away. Right? He hasn't changed anything about himself except for his name, and that he wants to be called Julia and be known as a girl. So he's now
and,
she.
and he
okay?
stated the pronouns he wants to be referred to.
Correct.
She wants to be referred
Because, well, now he's a girl. So obviously that would be she. And
Okay.
anything would be related to
Okay.
she.
All right.
So in Julia's presence now, you and I, as polite human beings and, just accepting of people wanting to do whatever they feel makes them happy, fine. Okay? We'll do this for Julia, right? Now, according to this gentleman, whenever Julia walks away, you and I have to say, well, wasn't she nice? Let's say. Wasn't Julia nice? She
Wait,
was
wait.
she was a nice girl.
This trainer was recommending that's
No,
why.
not recommending,
Mandating.
mandating. Because here's why. If you go, and by the way, well, let me just finish this thought. If you say she, if you don't say she, because he has already said he wants to be known as she. If you don't say she, if you don't say wasn't she nice, that's inappropriate. You and I have to remain pretending as if.
No, then I'm going to be inappropriate.
Right. Well, here's the other thing was. This is even worse, actually. This was
Wouldn't
the
you
actual
be
example.
on the side of the law anyways if you're inappropriate per se? I mean, because mandating you to refer to that person as that opposite sex when you know they're not, isn't that
Speech control, thought control.
yeah? Like, isn't that
Yeah, but
Well-
you said there's more?
Yeah, well, here's the actual example he gave. That one I gave was like kind of along the lines, but
Yeah.
here's the actual example. He was like, here I am, I'm dressed like a male. He's like, I'm a gay male. That he was a gay guy, right? But he was dressed like a male. He's like, I present as a male. I'm a guy. I'm just gay, but I'm fully a male. When I walk away from here, you cannot refer to me as he if I didn't give you permission to.
that's ridiculous?
Even though I dress
That's ridiculous.
and I am, because I did not give you permission to, so it's inappropriate for you to assume that I am he or him or referred to as that male pronoun. Yeah.
No, sorry.
Yeah.
I don't buy it.
So now that's getting into controlling thoughts, controlling speech.
Well,
That is supposedly offensive.
Plus, then it'll sound silly because you can't use a pronoun that you're unsure of. So now you're gonna keep referring to that person as their
Name only. Well, here was my point also.
and every sentence begins with their name. That
Well, fuck
refers
that.
to
No,
that
fuck this
person.
pronoun shit because there's so much more. You know what? Nobody has ever given me permission to call him a fucking asshole, but I've done it. You know what I mean? Nobody's ever given me permission to call him as a jerk, but
and
I've
you
done
were
it.
inappropriate.
Whatever. I don't fucking need any kind of freaking, okay from him to
Permission.
say permission from that person to do it. It blows my fucking mind. But this dude was completely 100% serious. Like, that is not okay. Like wagging the finger, that is not okay. You can't do that. How dare you? Shame on you. And it's like, when the fuck did, I mean, first of all, I remember when
Would you say that school is pretty accepting and tolerant?
yeah, well, yeah.
So why the need?
But, I
for
mean,
that,
well,
why the
when
need
you
for
say-
that trainer in the first
well-
place? Why isn't that?
Well, when it makes me think though, is it tolerant? Because if you're sitting there telling people that you're going to be, it's not okay to just simply refer to somebody who presents themselves as all male,
Yeah.
but if you assume that they're a he, then that's not okay. Is it tolerant?
I think it is.
You know what I mean?
I think it is in the sense that they're trying to bring attention to this. I just think it's bullshit. That's all.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what that's my point. I think about that.
So, but
I think it's bullshit.
But, okay, whether or not you think it's bullshit, they've implanted themselves into this. HR hired this person, as you made the point. So now this has become, if there's a situation where somebody says he called me he without my permission, that's offensive. There could be some sort of not accusation,
Your
but
job could be at stake.
I don't know if it goes that far, but there could definitely be some sort of formal complaint, a write-up. You know what I mean? Something.
I'm saying
That comes
so
out of
it will
Yeah.
affect your job in some way.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So is it tolerant? You know what I mean? Where is the tolerance?
Well, the tolerance is on the other side.
Well, their tolerance is all on my side. Let me dictate what you should be tolerant about, right?
Yeah.
So it's now dictatorship. It's dictatorial. It's
So
like,
what I meant
the
was,
fuck?
it's a school, the student body themselves and the teachers, are they pretty much naturally tolerant about,
Yeah.
that type of diversity anyways in the
Yes.
first place?
Yeah.
Talking
So
about
if-
on a real level.
Yeah. So
It's
if
not a-
so if they are, then why the need for that trainer?
I don't know. Well, because this is something new in basically our culture that's all of a sudden picked up a lot of steam. And so now everybody's got to go through it because otherwise, it's just one of those new things. It's something new because there always got to be new things that pop up, and this is it right now.
Yeah.
I don't
Exact-
think it needs to be any more than this. They should just say, look, there's going to be some people who decide in your life, and somebody you in contact with you, because I think he even said like there's like 1 in 5 people go through this or something like that. Or it was not just transgender. It was LGBTQ and all the other ones after that. Like 1 in 5 people or something like that. So to me, it's all you need to know is somebody probably or somebody in your lifetime is going to go through some sort of transition or
Identity crisis.
or some recognition of themselves as not being straight, gay, whatever it is, you know what I mean? And so be aware that that's going to happen. Don't be shocked, and just treat that person like you would any other person. That to me is as far as it needs to go. You know what I mean? Because if you live in a polite society, you should just treat other people as they would want to be treated and as you would want to be treated.
And it is as simple as that.
It is.
To me,
Now,
it is.
Yeah.
Once it starts going beyond that, then that's where I start to have problems.
Well,
Because
I would
go on.
also add to that I think just like with the bullying thing we were talking about earlier, how you can't just target the bully. There has to be some sort of coping mechanism for the victim.
Yeah.
Same thing here.
So-called
I think it's the
victim.
very same thing. Like, there has to be a coping mechanism for the person who's having the identity crisis as well. When they feel like they've been or they've been offended by someone else who referred to them as what they don't want to be referred to as. There has to be a target them too as well, not just everyone else around them. But you got to have strategies and coping mechanisms for that person too when they come across a situation where they feel offended. Then I think that's more
Just-
effective actually.
Well,
know,
maybe
it's just-
one of the first things they should be told is, look, what you're doing is not common. Like if it's a transgender thing. People do it, but it's not as common as XYZ, whatever else it is. People are going to need to get used to it, especially people close to you that you know. It's going to take them time. Give them that time. You know what I mean? There's going to be, there's got to be that at least. No?
No, I
No,
agree.
yeah, I just
Please clap.
I'm just I'm just over the fact that everybody. I mean, not just this topic in particular, but I'm saying today it seems like everybody's offended about something.
Something.
And
Yeah.
that's just, it gets old.
I don't get it.
And here's the thing. I don't get it, and I don't give a fuck.
Have you realized that it seems like everybody's a fucking prude nowadays, doesn't it? Like everybody's a fucking prude. Everything's offensive. I thought we were a pretty, we've gotten past all. Now it feels like everybody was really I remember going to concerts as a kid, or, even in the 90s, and it was all that far right religious shit. There were times you'd be, I listened to a lot of heavy metal music. Francis listened to heavy metal music. Do you remember when it was all the religious nuts telling us that we were all Satanists and stuff like that?
We're going
to hell?
into Iron Maiden.
Yeah. And it was all Satan. You're Satan
Yeah.
worshipers and all this shit. And people believed it. You know what I mean? It was all this crap. But it was like going way overboard about what we were into. And it was like, hey, why not just like chill the fuck out, get to know me? That was our attitude. It was like, we're not bad. The bands we're listening to, they're not evil. That's not what you think it is. You know what I mean? And then over time, actually, people seem to have, and they were the same way with like gay people. Remember what they would say towards gay people? They would say the same thing, like, gay people are bad or evil, they're sinners, all that kind of stuff. For the most part, and I know this because my mother is very religious, those people have kind of pretty much mellowed out on all that shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it now seems to be the same type of thing
Well, there's a term.
for other stuff.
There's a term for people like that.
What do you mean? There's a term for people like what?
You're like hypersensitive about
Everything.
everything.
Snowflake, right?
Yeah.
Snowflake.
Snowflake.
It's funny because that word seems to be
It's
owned
a new
owned
thing.
by the right, referring to the
Oh,
left.
is it really?
Yes,
Is that how
owned
it
by the
works?
right, who they referred. They
But I
like,
can
they like
see
to
that.
use that to the people on the left a lot. But in reading all these articles and everything, it's all sides, man. Everybody's
Oh,
a snowflake.
of course,
dude.
yeah,
Everybody
sure.
has
But
they're
whoever
all
coined it
hypersensitive
first,
to everything.
whoever coined it first,
Yeah.
though, gets the, you know what I mean, gets to claim it.
Yeah, but then it's funny how they
Well,
don't
it's all hypocritical.
they don't
too.
see it in themselves.
Well, of course, it's nothing. You know,
like yeah,
but I mean, like if they coined it, then they get to claim it.
yeah.
But I can see why they coined it. I mean, if you're talking about, look, okay, somebody coming from LGBT side is more than likely going to be on the left side, right?
Yeah.
And if they're telling me that it's inappropriate and offensive to call what very much is a male a he, and if that's inappropriate and offensive, then I get it. I get why they're calling somebody from the left a snowflake.
Yeah. And
You know
here's
what I
the-
mean? If
yeah.
that's one of the examples. This is one
It's
example.
true, but
I
why,
get it.
I mean, it's not necessarily a person from the left. It could be anybody. That's what I'm saying. Why is it? I don't know. I just think it's like you said, hypocritical how that word gets associated with the left per se. Because
Well, I think other
everybody-
examples are like some of those speakers that go to colleges that like there's big uprisings on them because they're just there to speak and they want to shut down. I think it comes from that. Originally, I think it came from those speakers that go to college campuses and they were like, just because they were maybe a right wing or Republican going to speak on campus, there were like riots trying to shut them down and
Oh,
be
yeah,
like
yeah.
things that they say are offensive and how dare you bring these people, and I think that's where the term actually originated
Yeah.
from those
But-
college kids, because they called them snowflakes, I think because they were I think it goes back to like they're the generation that was always told they were special, like a snowflake. So then, you know what I mean? So
I don't know.
if I'm
Snowflake is
special,
unique.
yeah.
Yeah.
And if I'm so special, then I get what I want, and then I can just complain, and you know what I mean? I think there's that.
But then the other
backstory to it.
properties of snowflake just goes where the wind blows. It easily melted. No, Urban Dictionary says this term is most often used to describe people, left-leaning people, but can be applied to both left and right-wing people.
Yeah.
Which, fair enough. It just seems funny that there's a term like this, because that's how much of these types of people are around nowadays.
I think it's a
It
perfect.
sucks
It's a
because-
perfect word for
It
those
is.
type of people.
Yeah.
Well, it sucks though, because
Snowflake.
for all those
Yeah.
years, we were fighting against, like, when we were like, "Fuck, we're not devil worshippers. Gay people are not sinners. They're just, you know what I mean."
Yeah.
We finally got past the point where it was like, all right, people are chilling out about this shit. Now people are like coming up with other shit to fucking wag their finger at people for and yell about and protest. Like, come on, man. Everybody's a fucking prude. Now everybody's offended about it. Just mellow the fuck out, everybody. Just
Yeah.
mellow the fuck out. Get a hobby, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get some friends that you can hang out with and do something with, and chill the fuck out. Don't be so offended about everything. What's there to be offended about?
Or is it the same type of shit and we just never evolved? We just like to think we have.
Well, we
but
definitely haven't evolved.
nothing's really changed. Like, it's the same old shit. Everything's the same old fucking topics, issues, everything. It's the same things.
Yeah, I mean, you can go back to like looking at old speeches of like JFK, and he's talking about the same shit.
Same shit. Yeah.
You know?
Well, Martin Luther King. Same
Everybody,
shit.
yeah.
Same shit. Yeah.
They've all been talking about gun control. They've all talked about economy. They've all talked about diversity.
Or
You know?
the right
It's
or
just all
wrong
the
way to
same
protest.
shit.
You
Yeah.
know, it's just like, yeah,
Same fucking shit.
Same thing, man. Nothing's changed, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same shit. How do you feel about that?
But now
Francis?
I feel great now that we get to complain about it and record it.
I think the text changed. That's pretty much it.
What
right?
changed?
We have better technology.
Yeah.
That's pretty
That's
much
about it. But that's what makes us think we're so much more evolved than we actually are.
Because we have better tech.
Yeah.
We have better gadgets. still
can-
have the same issues.
We can keep people from dying from stupidity under Darwinism.
One thing, I mean,
medical
what's definitely, the technology has changed, but the communication too. And you would think that of all our ways of communicating, we would have a better sense of how to communicate more effectively, but it doesn't seem like that's the case. It seems like people are they're doing all their communication online without talking face to face. They'll just blurt out an opinion, and then everybody, including trolls and all these attacks that go back and forth.
What's your definition of a troll? I got called that. That I'm trolling someone's family who posts things on Facebook. And the only reason why I comment on those posts, by the way, is because the friend that I have is attached to those posts, so it shows up on my board. And then once in a while, something will pop up that I don't agree with, so I'll say something like, "Hey, I don't agree with that because of this."
What?
And then now I'm accused of being a troll. Isn't a troll someone who purposely goes and searches?
Deliberately trying to provoke a reaction.
Yeah, see, I really don't.
But
I've heard that, but I don't really know exactly how people mean to use it. But to me, it just always seems that anybody who has a dissenting view is a troll. That's what
Yeah.
it seems to be now.
No. I mean, technically, I
Or a
don't think
different
I don't
view.
think it was meant. I think it's basically meant to refer to people that just want to provoke a reaction. It's not that they truly believe that.
Well, that
You
makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. But I think people are attributing that even when the person just has a different opinion. Like,
I
you're just
I was
troll.
a
It's like,
snowflake.
no,
I was a snowflake, and I was offended that I was called a troll because I didn't feel at all that I was commenting to incite a reaction. I felt I was reacting to what they were commenting.
See, now it's all about perception, right?
But your whatever your reaction was not in line with whatever the conversation that was already taking place. It wasn't in line with that probably.
Sure, but so then
Therefore you were the troll. By default, you were just the troll.
Now here's the thing. Now that you know and you understand,
They just were like, you're looking for a reaction. That's all. It's the only because there's no way
'cause
anybody could disagree with us.
you're saying their perception of what I did was I put a dissenting comment from what they had from their viewpoint. Their viewpoint is that my whole purpose was to get a reaction out of
Correct.
them.
Because
Even though I was only trying to react or disagree with what
Correct.
they posted in the first place.
they didn't look at it as rational debate or anything like that. I
But
think
that's how I look at it.
Of
That's what
course
I'm
it is,
saying.
but
Yeah, like,
most
I wanna-
people
I want to engage.
That's
in a
why
debate.
we're
Yeah.
doing this here, because most people are so consumed with nobody can think differently than me. So if they do, therefore they must be just trying to troll me. You know what I mean? Nobody can think differently than the conversation I'm having with my like-minded friends. So if they think differently, they're trolling. You know what I mean?
Is that deflection?
yeah,
Whatever.
It is
Yeah.
deflection,
It
right?
is.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
Huh. I hope that person's listening someday. to
Just
this
because you say
conversation.
something different, you're a troll. Because that's what it sounded like.
So
happened.
how did you react when you were called a troll? How did you react?
I said, look up the definition. That's not what I'm doing. That's all I said. But then, that's never good enough. It's always,
No.
Yes, you are. You're trolling. You're trolling. You're such a troll. That's what it is. Well, prove it. It's like,
See, but
Look
now
at what
you're-
you said.
yeah, now you're deflecting.
Yeah.
no, but I think-
Right?
Yeah.
we
It's
talked about
never-
this. We talked about this before about engaging with people, and you were
Yes.
saying you sometimes do that. You'll continue to engage.
Yes. I'll continue to engage because I think I've said this before. I just feel like, man, like, I can't let
It's your
this.
mission to change the world.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't.
You can't let it go
I can't let it go. I can't let it go.
because your silence is your admission that they are right.
Yes, or I feel like I'm playing a part in it because I didn't say anything,
See?
or I didn't put anything into it. And now I feel like
I read right into Polo.
I'm
here.
contributing to that same, those type of opinions because I'm not saying anything. I'm letting it run rampant in the world.
So you're putting the burden of corrections onto yourself.
Not solely
Correcting
onto me, but I don't know.
No, but
I
you're
guess,
because you have to respond.
yes, I have to respond.
See?
I want a part in this, I want a little part in showing the different side, the other side at least of whatever it is that I don't agree with. See, that's what I want to do. I don't know.
There you go. And with that said, no,
Hey, can we talk about Nazis for a second?
Nazis?
Yeah.
talk about anything you want.
Yeah.
Hey, this is your podcast.
Well, I mean, just because it's a simple question. It's all out there, but you know the whole should a Nazi be punched thing. Have you heard about this shit?
Talking about the subway.
The
subway
I
incident.
think I heard something about that, but I guess I'm more referring to those jerk offs that
It
went.
depends. How big is this Nazi?
Well, I tell you what.
And
go
who's
ahead.
doing the punching? I
And
guess,
who's
right?
doing the
Yeah.
punching?
Okay, well, this is what I heard. There was a somebody had this on. Somebody filmed this too. There was a Nazi. Well, I should say there was a guy in the Nazi uniform sitting on either a bus or a train. I don't remember what it was. And I guess people took it upon themselves to attack.
Yeah, I think I heard some. I didn't see the whole story, but I think I saw the headline about that.
So is that kind of where you're
Well,
going?
but yeah, exactly. But before that, there had been some incidents. What's that guy's name? Richard Spencer.
Yeah, Spencer, that alt-right guy.
He
right?
actually was giving an interview, and somebody just came up and clocked him while he was doing that out of nowhere.
You know they went back to Charlottesville, right?
Yeah, I saw
Yeah.
that too.
Mhm,
But
yeah.
the thing in Charlottesville too, people were talking about. Should they be punched? I think two things can be true at the same time. People are, I think, punching them because they're Nazis and they shouldn't be doing what they're doing, right? But obviously, I think they have a right to be peacefully saying whatever they want to say, right? That's their First Amendment right. But will there be consequences for that shit? Of course. I mean, maybe not by the government, which is what that's all the second or the First Amendment says. It's not the government that's going to give you consequences, right? So if you're going to be pulling that kind of shit, then expect some kind of consequence, like an ass kicking.
Yeah,
You know?
you brought this up before.
Yeah.
You have freedom of speech, but not freedom from the consequence.
Right.
I mean,
And
but they contradict each other if when you say the consequence, at least in America, for example, where that's really what we're talking about, the freedom of speech and First Amendment and all that. So he has the right to say it peacefully, but in that same conversation, somebody does not have the right to attack him physically based on his expression.
right. We don't have a right in this country to commit violence against other people.
But it happens.
But it happens, right? Because, okay. The person, okay, the argument I think from people is that you should be able to punch a Nazi because obviously Nazi views, right?
if you're a Nazi, you have to be expected that
Exactly.
there's a chance someone's gonna want to punch you in the face.
You're just a
man.
douchebag if you think you're just
Yeah.
going to walk around thinking you're fucking,
Yeah.
and everybody's just going to be like, oh, look, there's a Nazi. I'm scared.
Yeah,
Well,
whatever. There's a Nazi,
But-
no, I think in portraying yourself as a Nazi, that's incites some pretty strong feelings in a lot of people. Still, man,
Yeah,
like you can't
yeah.
just walk around and do that shit.
Well, okay.
What if you were starring in a World War II film, didn't have time to change?
Yeah, and you got sent
You
down
better
to like,
tell some people.
yeah.
You were like,
And
hey,
you
I
were the
just
one
came
that
from
they
a
sent.
movie.
Yeah, and
I don't have extra clothes to
You were-
change into.
you were the one sent the
I
Krispy
apologize.
Kreme. You were the one sent the Krispy Kreme. You know what I mean? For like the donuts, and you had to
You
walk
just
in.
forgot to take
Should've
it
Yeah,
out.
like oh,
Should have worn a
shit.
robe.
Fuck. No, man. But then nobody's gonna believe you. You're like, no, you're just a pussy now, aren't you?
Yeah,
Like, no, but I think. I mean, I said this to him the other day. I was like, look, when you're sitting there and you want to make a right turn, on a green light, but some slow fuck is walking across the street like he owns the place, I want to punch that guy. You know what I mean? Like, I think that guy, if I saw somebody come out of nowhere and just punch him, I'd be like, well, you know what? It's not really legal to do that to somebody, but I get it. You know what I mean? I get why that guy gets punched because He's an asshole.
What
I'm
thing-
sitting here waiting to turn right, and you're walking so slow. You deserve, I wish somebody would punch you.
Then you
So
find out
therefore,
that
see,
they just
my
had
standards-
they just had a groin surgery.
Yeah, well, fuck 'em.
Just
Fuck him.
fuck 'em.
Yeah.
Should have waited for the
Well, I'm
lights.
saying-
Should have waited for the lights. to
All
change.
I'm saying is my standard for somebody getting punched, not necessarily by me, but I get why people want to punch somebody. You know what I mean?
You're
I
saying
get
your standard is reasonable.
my standard's pretty low, actually. I mean, I haven't punched anybody since I was a kid. You know what I mean? I'm not going around punching people, but I get it. I get why somebody would go, this guy needs a fucking, fist in his mouth, And some motherfucker walking slow as shit across the street, to me, I can see why somebody wants to punch that person, right? Now, should a Nazi also get the same? Fuck, why not? You know what I mean? Like, now, both of those cases, it's legal for that person to walk slowly across the street. It's their right. They have a right to. They have the right of way to walk slowly.
I
But
think-
they're being an asshole, right?
What
So
what
I
if
can
they're-
imagine somebody going plap in their just because of that. The same thing goes with the Nazi thing. to me.
I don't see it's the same. What if the guy? Seriously, I mean, you made a joke about it, but what if there's some physical issue with this person moving slowly?
And it's not
Okay.
easy to detect visually. Right?
Yeah.
I think you know where I'm. Let's not the typical asshole that just walks.
Yeah, the dude on the
Across-
smartphone. Yeah.
Some douchebag just kind of like strolling across as if he's not in a fucking street, with a bunch of cars, just
So
walking across as if he's in the middle of a field.
So at the same time, we're not assuming the Nazi is an actor in a World War II film.
Right, exactly. Let's not go with the exceptions here. Let's go with
Okay,
like what the obvious shit that's like, okay, let's get rid of any exceptions and just go with.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, I think he deserves to be clocked in the mouth, but should somebody do it?
whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
they're free to do it. They're free to dress how they want. Are these douchebags really think they're Nazis too? You know what I mean? Like, did they know anything about the real Nazis? Do you think, or did they just think, "Boom, I'm gonna be a Nazi"? Like.
Well, I mean, I think to fall in line and kind of, support that ideology, you have to be a person that's easy to brainwash in the first place. You're just that type of person. Or, I think for the most part, of course there are exceptions. There are people who truly believe in that and things like that. But for the most part, I think, or you have issues at home or mental issues, whatever it is that makes you want to belong to that type of group.
Could be similar to why people just join a gang.
Join a gang, yeah.
That kind of
They feel ostracized somewhere else, so they
family
need
feeling
they
out
need,
of it or something like that.
Yeah, they need a group to belong to. Yeah,
I mean, and Nazis are pretty much universally looked at as a hate group. So,
Yeah.
What you can't sit there and
I don't
argue.
know. There are fine people on all sides. Yeah. I don't know. Let's not go that far. Yeah, don't generalize it now.
Yeah, what the fuck?
No, I'm saying you
There's
can't.
some good people in there.
That's what I'm saying. You can't make that mistake. You can't say, "Well, this guy, he believes in this part." Nazism has this benefit,
Look,
but not
yeah,
this.
if you're willing to put that fucking that symbol on you, bets are off, dude. You
Which
know
was
what I mean? Like, it's-
hijacked. Which they hijacked.
I know, completely hijacked. And you go to Asia, you'll see that thing
Yeah.
all over the place. The swastika.
Yeah, and that's the. I guess that's
My
the
wedding
danger.
venue had swastikas.
Yeah, his
all over
wedding
the place.
venue had swastikas all over it.
Yeah.
All above all the doorways.
The original ranch owners were into, what is that, Hinduism?
Something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Hinduism. Yeah, so they had swastikas all over. They had the disclaimer right in the front. So there are swastikas all over
Yeah,
this
before you
venue
walk in, yeah.
because of this reason. Yeah.
What was a symbol of peace?
Yeah, it was.
When you go to Japan, there's an area that has right in Tokyo. There's this little temple, and it's actually, I think it's a Buddhist. But you walk up to it and there's this giant swastika. I mean, it's huge. It's like 12 feet high, and it's just there, and you can't go up to it. It's kind of fenced off. But people are going up there and praying and all that kind of stuff, like and toss money and shit like that into it. Yeah, it's just this giant swastika there. It's backwards of the way the Germans did it. It's like facing the other way, but it's it's unmistakably it's a swastika.
Yeah.
In Glendale, on the lampposts, if you've ever gone to lampposts on what is it, either Brand in Colorado, old lampposts, if you look down, it's all on the base.
Swastikas?
Yeah, Glendale. Well, it's backwards from
We should
how
create
the
an
Nazis
app.
were doing.
Find the swastikas and then punch a Nazi in the face.
Yeah.
You know, just like
There's a
cheap game app that you should create.
it's obviously everybody knows it's illegal in Germany, but there's this one building in Munich that has I mean it's illegal in Germany unless it's for like historical purposes or museum, shit like that. But there was a building in Munich and it was built by the Nazis. It's a Nazi building. There's a lot of Nazi buildings, from that era that were built. But this one just has this tiling that it's not evident when you first look at it, and but when you stare at it for just it doesn't take long to look at it. You'll see it's like a continuous like swastika going back and forth. And it's like this long building, probably like 100 yards long, and it's the tiling on the or actually it's on the ceiling, on the outside ceiling. Like there's like the overhang, and you look up and you see this tiling, and it has all this kind of back and forth swastikas that go back and forth. It's kind of eerie, but it's a pattern of tiling, and it's just like this continuous back and forth thing. But it crosses in some areas and makes it like these individual swastikas. But it's not evident just by looking at it. Like you can like look up and miss it. You know what I mean? But then if you stare at it for a second, you see the pattern.
Well, look at the one on Glendale. Look at these.
Oh
This
yeah.
is the Glendale one.
Oh yeah. Yep. Wow.
Crazy.
I never saw those before.
Yeah, I know.
So in Germany,
Mhm.
Do they have statues of Hitler?
No.
I mean, in a museum somewhere?
Statues? No.
Yeah, a statue or a depiction or
Well, depictions, I mean, it's all, there's pictures and shit like that. And
yeah,
Yeah, they have all that shit.
it's all. In the
But I mean,
museum.
like, when you walk around, like Berlin, let's say, they have these stations all over the place with information of historical things that happened. It's basically what happened in the 20th century. Like maybe where the book burnings were, or this corner, this happened here, and they'll have pictures, and then narratives of
Like
everything, and it's just
information,
like,
yeah.
it's like these huge, but they're not statues. It's like these big, they're not billboards. They're like these rounded things. They're like not quite round, like oval shaped, almost like billboard. Not billboards. Like I don't know what they're called. I don't know how you'd say it, but it's just these like they're about 8 feet tall and probably about 3 feet in diameter, and they just have these pictures on both sides of them. All these different pictures and then like information, just like as if you were going to a museum or something.
Yeah.
But they're all around the city. So you'll be walking somewhere and it'll be like, oh, this is where they did the T4 experiments, or this is where they have this big billboard. Or, well, this one is right where Hitler's bunker was, and it's just it's really not as. That's the only thing they have where Hitler's bunker was, and it is actually not even put up until like 10 years ago. They didn't even acknowledge that it was there.
Mm.
But like, there's just this. There's a sign there, basically says the bunker, and it shows the like the layout of the bunker and just basic history of it.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, and it's like in a neighborhood. It's now a neighborhood. There's like an apartment building there.
Yeah, I ask because I'm trying to segue into what do you guys think about all this calls for removing the statues the Confederate statues that we have in this country. What do you guys think about that? What side are
Honestly-
you on?
Honestly,
Okay.
I haven't even really thought much about it. I haven't really given it too much thought. It doesn't. I seriously haven't given it much. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, like that's up to the people who live there. If it's their community, I don't really. I get the argument on. I've heard the arguments on both sides, the one argument is like, why should people be paying tax money for upkeep on these things and reminded of what their ancestors went through and all that kind of crap? And I get that. And then the other side obviously is like, well, this is history, whatever.
And you want to, remember history to, acknowledge that this shit happened, but then other people are, reminded in the negative sense. So I don't know. It's.
I forget who said it, but there's this journalist. I think he made a good point. He said something about, you don't learn history from statues. You learn history from books or narratives, like you said, information. A statue is more to glorify something. I mean, isn't that the purpose of a statue? Is to commemorate or glorify.
I would think so.
Yeah. So I think that's what the journalist's point was, is that you don't. Why are we commemorating these things or glorifying these things? Or these people or these historical figures when they're on the wrong side of history, is what his point was. I thought that was very interesting. Like, yeah, it's true. We don't really learn history from a statue.
Well, put it this way: you grew up in California.
Yeah.
There are no statues here for Confederates.
No, not that I.
Do you know about the Civil War?
Yes.
There you go. Like, you know what I mean?
From
like,
books. Yes.
Yeah,
From books and narratives and videos and information and teachers and things like that.
Right.
It's true. Yeah.
That's a good point, though, about statues are usually erected in, for glorification of something.
Well, I know I've heard people who are for keeping them up from the South. There's that argument of the Civil War and all that shit was like, what'd they say? It was like to keep states' rights or something like that, and like because the Union was trying to force them to do stuff, and it was
It
more
forced them to not have slavery.
Whatever, yeah, basically, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I can't see. Look, like I said, I haven't given it all that much thought. I don't have a strong opinion on it either way. I get it. I mean, I don't see why it can't be just gone to a museum. That's fine with me. I don't got to deal with it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't.
So are those people being snowflakes?
No, I don't think so. I think there's a legitimate argument on both sides. I think there's nothing snowflakish about it. I don't think.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't walk around Germany and see like Hitler on one corner and then Himmler on another and then Goebbels on another. You don't see that shit. You
Right,
know what I
for
mean?
the purpose of remembering. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you do see statues everywhere though. You'll see like a big Soviet statue.
Because that would be offensive, right? If there was a Hitler statue.
It'd be against the law.
Yeah, or Himmler.
It would be against the law. I don't
Against
know.
the law
I don't
and
know.
offensive. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, that's part of the reasons why it's
Against the law.
Yeah.
Well, it's more than just offensive. I think offensive isn't a big enough word for that though. You know what I mean? Like it's
it's much bigger than that.
Yeah, it's much bigger than that.
But point taken though.
Yeah.
I mean, especially in the South.
The hell was that?
Wow, what was that?
Settle down over here.
Should probably wrap it up after that.
Well, there's one quick little thing I wrote down here. Let me put it there. I have an idea for a webpage. Should I say it?
I don't know. Do you have the
Should I
domain?
give it up? No, I'll say it off the.
You should say it off the air.
And then we'll bring
And then
it up next
announce
time.
it later.
Yeah, next
announce
time.
it when it's up.
Bukakis in summer? .org? All right, that's enough.
All right, Polo.
He can't help himself. Bukakis. Can't help himself. It's all he's been talking about all night. All right, we'll get to it later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I perseverate on Bukakis. I perseverated on
bet you
Bukakis tonight.
Anyway, all right.
right.
So we're going to be done for tonight?
Yeah, I think we can wrap this up.
So that would be Beanies
Wrap
in
it
Summer,
up.
episode 3.
Episode 3.
We're on a roll. I hope we're interesting.
Sushi roll?
Yeah.
Cinnamon
Sushi
roll.
roll.
All right. Stop it.
All right, we're out. Later.
Bye.
Peace.